every single aspect of my life has gotten better, and I know that might even sound kind of like I'm overselling it, but it's not. Like, what you taught me provided a foundation that completely transformed every single aspect of my life, financially. Like, when I met you, my company was doing $200,000 in revenue. It's now doing 1.3 million.
Fuck yes,
So,
man. Good for you.
so thank you. And so we're tripling in size every year now. And I know a huge part of that was basically what you taught me. Just so the financial abundance and just being in the right mindset every single day, regardless of what happened, because as a business owner, not all days are, sunshine and rainbows. And so you got to figure out a way to have a good, strong foundation to be able to get yourself through those tough times. So, that completely changed me financially. Relationally, I'm in an extremely loving relationship, and when I had met you, I was going through like a really bad heartbreak, and I had kind of created this fantasy in my head of, I was dating all these wrong girls, that weren't right for me, and they just weren't going well. It was like this just destructive pattern. And looking back now, I just realized that I just wasn't the truest version of myself. I
Mhm.
wasn't the best version of myself, and therefore I wasn't attracting the right partner. And now that I've been again, due to this practice and these different rituals that I do every day, it basically has attracted my, otherwise perfect counterpart, because we just mesh so much in every different level, because I'm so aware of what I like, what I don't like, what I'm willing to put up with, what I'm not. My self-worth has gone through the roof by doing this, what you've taught me. So yeah, like I'm saying, like relationally, things have gotten way better for me. Also, when I met you, I was living in the United States. For the last 2 years straight, I have been traveling the world. So right after you and I met, I've been to over 20 countries. I lived in
Wow.
Colombia for a year and a half. I learned to speak Spanish fluently. I just got back from Moscow, 4 days ago, and I'm in San Francisco now. So I've just been traveling the world and just taking in all these new experiences. And again, I contribute a lot of that to the system you've taught me as well, because man, it takes a lot of fucking balls to start your own business and to persevere and to travel the world. These are things that most people dream of, but never do, because they just are scared and they're not, they're afraid of what's on the other side. But this ritual that you taught me, this practice, this system, gave me the confidence, and it gave me that, drive and vision to, accomplish every single dream that I've had, and I still, of course, have more dreams, but 2 years later, I use this system every single day. I just got done doing one of the things right before we got on the call, so it's like, yeah. So, it's funny because I preach what you teach to my friends, my family. I try to, give them advice and try to help them out with different aspects of the system you taught me. And, because I've become such an advocate, because I know it works and I've seen it work, and I'm living proof that it works.
Mhm.
So, yeah, like I was saying before we started the recording, I'm just extremely grateful to you. You took so many different things and condensed it down into a simple, easy to understand, and practical system that anybody can really use. Oh man, I'd basically tell myself, I know you're skeptical. I know you think this is too good to be true. I know that you think there's, uh, you know, I would just basically tell myself that if you want to see your entire world change, your entire life change, if you really want to accomplish and you're serious about accomplishing all these dreams and goals that you have, then this is an absolute must. Because if you don't get this aspect down of life, then you will never truly be happy and you'll never truly be successful. So you have to go. That would probably be what I would tell myself. And I think that would probably make my old self, I'm so glad I did it. Looking back, but yeah, I just, like you said, I felt like I was rolling the dice. I was nervous, and like
Yeah.
I flew out for it, so it was like, it was an ordeal. And,
Yeah.
but I remember halfway through the first day, do you remember we were
Yeah.
eating?
You told me you got your money's worth even in the first day. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And that was it. And it was like, what else are we going to cover for 2.5 days? Crazy to say, but it's true, so yeah, that's probably what I would tell my old self. Extremely enjoyable work. once you get in the habit of it, and you're doing it every day, it's like going to the gym. At first it's tough, it's hard to build it, but once you build that muscle up, it just because, like, it's the same feeling I get when I go to the gym. I love going to the gym now because I'm in good shape. I have my routine down. I always feel better when I leave. It's the same thing with this system, that you're teaching. It's, at first it's like learning something new, kind of getting into it. But I mean, the mind is an extremely powerful tool. And if you just stick with it, I mean, it'll adapt really quickly. I agree. Well, yeah, I mean, going to the gym, for the most part, unless you really overdo it, most of the time, if you go to the gym every day, and you have a healthy workout, and you're maintaining a good diet, that's a healthy addiction. That's a great addiction.
Yeah.
We had said that, financially, my life has completely changed, obviously, since I met.
Yeah. You said 200,000 to 1.2 million.
Yeah, 1.3. That's in 2 years. And again, I don't have a college degree, and I'm 29 years old. So, there's no limitation. So I had, probably 8 years leading up, or 7 years leading up to meeting you, I had, read hundreds of books. That was really where I tried to get, my help. So self-help books, I had read all those. I had read books on finance and success. I had read autobiographies on people that had become really successful. I had watched a bunch of motivational videos, you know what I mean? I had worked my freaking ass off, to try to become rich. Like there were a lot of things that I had done prior, and then also dated a bunch, I tried everything, because I've always been one of those types of people, and I'm always trying to figure out, okay, how can I get better? What's the key that I'm missing in order to be healthier, happier, et cetera. So I would say I honestly exhausted a lot of resources before I met up with you. So that's partly why I was so skeptical, because I was thinking, I've already done a ton of work on myself. I've already read so many books. I've listened to, various audiobooks. And so that was one of the main reasons I was so skeptical, because I just felt like, what has this guy read? What does this guy know? And turns out quite a bit.
Right. Yeah.
So, and there were aspects that I had learned in those self-help books that we definitely applied, but it was in a system that could make it stick. Mm-hmm. And that could actually, practically change my life, in a way that I could, perform and do every day, that would actually apply into my life, because you can read a book, right? Like on anything, right? You can learn something amazing and you go, oh my God, that was an amazing book. But if you don't apply any of those things, then it will have absolutely zero impact on your life, even if you know the knowledge. And that's what I loved about this program. So yeah, I would say I would be very surprised that if somebody took your course that had tried as many things as I had before getting to your course. I might be wrong in that, but again, I had read hundreds of books, and I had really tried to figure this out on my own. Mm-hmm. And then of course, hardcore religion and like a lot of other things I had tried too. And I'm not putting down religion in any way either, but I was seeking what you basically had in religion, right? In these different things. And nothing ever did it for me until I took your program. I could incorporate the different key points out of those things into the system, so it's, Yeah, man, I just got to go back and say how grateful I am again. I know we haven't talked in a long time, but uh, yeah, I'm just super grateful for learning everything you taught me, because it completely transformed my life. So I'm really happy to know that you're doing this for other people, because anyone that does this and really takes it seriously and really does the work, because as you said, it requires work.
Yep.
Um, but anyone that will do the work consistently, there is no doubt in my mind, zero doubt, that it will completely transform their lives, because it has for me in every way. Like I said, relationally, financially, physically. When we got on this call before we recorded, you mentioned how much slimmer I looked.
Yeah.
you know,
That's right. Yep.
I've lost 20 pounds and my body fat percentage is extremely low. Like I'm in phenomenal shape. So physically it's been very good for me. And then spiritually, I am like on a whole nother level, than from where
I'm sure. I'm sure.
So, I mean, these are like, four huge points: relational, financial, physical, spiritual. All of them have excelled tremendously since we met 2 years ago and I implemented your system into my life. People are blown away by my productivity levels.
I'm sure. And
I'm around family and friends. I mean, they think I'm like, you know, uh, not of this world, because my energy levels and my, and my consistency.
mhm.
It's not only being, because I used to have really good spurts of energy, but I would crash and burn after a prolonged period, and I would just go into this depression, and I would just like, because I think I was kind of suppressing all that stuff and just, focusing really, really hard and making
Right.
a lot of money, but I was neglecting all these really other important things. So what would happen is all of a sudden I'd build all that up, and then it would be like, boom, and just go down. And then I'd have to recover from that, which took time, but now I can just remain on just a total steady, like you said, emotional state. My emotional state, I mean, is like pretty much nothing can phase me. Of course, I'm still human,
Of course.
but if something bad in my life happens, I get over it. I mean, ridiculously fast, uh, within a day, typically. One day, if it's something big, maximum 2 days.
Mhm. Yep.
Because what you've taught me, yeah, it absolutely manages my emotional state. I'm freaking a rock when it comes to that. And then energy, yeah, I mean, you're right. My energy is through the roof. There's no way I'd be able to sustain this and be happy,
Mhm.
for prolonged periods of time. But man, yeah, you're absolutely right. Those are the two things it does for sure. I swear to God, every single person that I meet tells me you're living the dream, or I am living vicariously through you. I hear that not every day, but I hear it from new people I meet every single time I'm in an Uber, and they, we get in a conversation within the first 5 minutes. Dude, you are living the dream. I wish I had your life. I hear that all the time. And then all my family and friends at some point will say to me, dude, I'm living vicariously through you. And what could be better than that? Because it's so true, because I agree with them all. I am living in a dream state. I can't discern anymore between reality and dreaming, because that's how good life has gotten. And you're right, because of this practice, I have kept myself, I would say realistically, because, you still have to account for reality. I would say that I'm in a blissful, happy, productive state 95% of the time. And I would say that the 5% where I encounter, it's usually within 1 to 2 minutes, and I can shift it back around, because I have the tools to be able to, I have such a strength built from doing this system for 2 years that I can catch it right when it begins, and I can reverse it. And I can go right back into my happy, grateful, good state. Even if it was something technically that was bad, right? Like maybe I lose like my thing that hurts me usually is like when I lose a client,
Mhm.
because we work really hard to get them. But so when I lose a client, I get like this sick feeling, and I'm just like, oh, and just, it hurts. But like I said, usually within a few minutes, I can turn it right back around, and like I said, worst case scenario, if it was something really big, really bad, which thank God doesn't happen very often, a day or two, and I'm back to my productive, normal, 95% happy all the time state. And everything feels so much more effortless in this state. Everything feels like it flows to me in this state. Like a lot of times, and I remember this is something big that we worked on, was I had really high levels of anxiety. And I was one of those types of people that always had to be doing something 24/7, or I would get guilt and a feeling of immense anxiety because I felt like, oh God, I need to be doing everything I can at every single moment of every day to become successful financially. And this helped me basically become much more present, much more aware, and just live in the present moment. I'm not in my mind nearly as often. I'm much more present. And as a result, things just literally flow to me. It's so strange how often, right when I get finished doing something, it's like I get that phone call, or that next thing, like let's say I didn't have my day planned out, right? Like exactly what I wanted to do. Let's say I maybe wanted to work for a couple hours. I knew I just had to get a few things done for the company, and then I had a pretty open day. It's pretty much, guaranteed that I'm going to get a phone call right as I'm finishing something, or some plans are going to be made, and it will just flow right into that next thing, whatever it is. And it's, I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but I'm just trying to say that I no longer have any anxiety, and everything flows into my life exactly as it should. And it's so therefore it feels a lot less effort, like exerting a much less effort. And therefore I get to hold on to more of my energy. Yeah. There's no value in a concept unless you have it built into a practice and you actually do it every single day. There's no value. It's you know what I mean? It's like with anything, you can read a book, you can learn rocket science, but if you're not an actual rocket scientist, what good is the knowledge? It does, it actually applying the knowledge you learn to whatever you're doing. It just doesn't. So yeah, because I had read The Power, of Now, for example, like Eckhart Tolle, and I love that book, and that was referred to me like 10 years ago. I read that thing and I love the concept, but I could never apply it because it was so hard. I was always thinking about the future, always thinking about the past, always filled with anxiety. I'm like, yeah, that way, ideally, if I was a monk and had nothing going on in my real world life,
right. Yeah.
That would be great to implement, and that would be a great way to live, but it's just not realistic, or so I thought. But once you implement it into a practice like yours and into a system like yours, then it becomes extremely feasible, as long as you stay consistent and as long as you do the work, then, because we're all human. I get off my practice sometimes, and I usually can make it I can usually make it a day without it and I still feel pretty good. But it's like day 2, day 3, and it's like, oh, I need to get back to the practice because I am all of a sudden higher anxiety. I'm in my head more. I'm, I just start going down. I'm not at the peak, the point I like to be mentally and spiritually. I'm not at that 95%, bliss state that we're talking about. So we're all human. I don't expect anybody to do your practice to be perfect, but it's a matter of recognizing it and knowing, oh, it kind of gives you a baseline to go off of, so I'm here. And then if I start to go down, it's like, wait a minute, I remember what I need to do to get back up here. So then you do it and you get back up. So it's, yeah, it really does give you a way to kind of get back to bliss is almost like a way to put it. You built a system to get yourself back to happiness and bliss. Which is, fucking incredible. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone.
Sure. Yeah, that's the end game.
So whether they have a startup like I did at the time of meeting, or if they already run $100 million company, it's such a drastic difference. If they're not implementing this system, then they are not achieving anywhere near what they could be. And I know that that would be a really hard pill for a lot of them to swallow, because they probably feel as if they're working their asses off, and many of them might be working 80-hour weeks to build their business, and putting in their all their time, and they're sacrificing all their relationships, and I mean they're killing it. So they wouldn't even believe me if I said that even then they are not at all being as productive, and they are not growing their company as fast as they could be implementing your system on a day-to-day basis. Because I was exactly one of those types of people. I was the business owner and the entrepreneur that was putting in the 80-hour weeks, that was killing myself to try to become as financially successful as I possibly could, reading every single book, doing everything I can, and sacrificing going out, just doing all of that stuff. And it was until I learned this that really was like, oh, wow, okay. Now knowing this, like I said, I tripled, or 6 times in 2 years. I've 6 times my revenue. And I'm a millionaire before the age of 30. So, I mean, anyone that wants to, I mean, I'm proof, right? So I'm a business owner. I learned this system 2 years ago. I applied it, and my finances are incredible. I mean, so I feel, and that's in a startup, and that was by myself. So, if you have a good team and you have, and that was with no money. So if you have money and you have a good team and, prior experience, and then you learn this system and you're already working hard, I mean, it's just going to take whatever you're doing and just make it times 10, because you're going to have so much more clarity. You're going to have so much more energy. You're going to be able to maintain your focus for so much longer. I mean, it's just in every aspect, it's going to help.